just about a year and a half ago. 10 combined players and picks. That is the most in any trade since the Herschel Walker deal in 1989 between the Cowboys and the Vikings. And after they did that, they signed Russell Wilson to a long-term contract extension that's really kind of at the heart of the current issue, right? Because they don't want to have to be stuck with extra guaranteed money a couple of years from now.
Way to get him.
When the Broncos got Russell Wilson, D. Wood, we were talking about, is this guy a Hall of Fame player based on what he's done so far? How has his time in Denver affected your answer to that question?
I think it's basically like taking a sledgehammer to that.
Ooh,
like literally. I mean, when you've given up the assets and the contract, there's a level of expectation that comes with that. We expected Russell Wilson to go into Denver and be a top, I would say at worst a top 10 quarterback.
Sure.
I think Pete Carroll rightly understood that Russell Wilson was not the Russell Wilson of the prior 2 years or whatever those last years he was in Seattle. So this whole fiasco with Sean, obviously with Nathaniel Hackett was terrible, and then to come back this year and to have this happen with Sean Payton, it just hasn't been a good 2 to 3 years. I would say 3 years for Russell Wilson. So when you have that type of downward trajectory at the quarterback position, it doesn't bode well for your overall legacy as far as trying to be in the Hall of Fame.
So was he a Hall of Famer and now this changed that? Or did he have more work to do on his Hall of Fame case when he got to Denver and he just didn't?
No, he had more work to do.
Yeah.
He had more work to do. I mean, listen, listen, you can't disparage what Russell Wilson did in Seattle. Russell Wilson put up some really good numbers. He was always one of the quarterbacks. He wasn't the best quarterback in the National Football League, but he was always amongst the best quarterbacks in the league.
MVP vote.
Listen, we can say that. We can definitely say that. But Russell Wilson was always in the conversation as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I just think over the last 3 years, the last year or so in Seattle, it's just been a downward spiral.
See, the last 2 years, and really this year, it's not like Russell Wilson played terrible at the quarterback position, but for the contract and what he was brought in to do, he didn't fit that bill. I personally had Russell Wilson as a Hall of Famer.
What?
Because you can't discredit. Yeah, you heard me, Bart. Because you can't discredit a lot of the things that he was able to do in Seattle. I went back and looked at some of the numbers, right? And I looked at the explosive plays that Seattle had from 2013 to I think it was 2018. They were one of the best teams in the National Football League in creating explosive plays. Well, there has to be a quarterback that throws the football to you. And when I look at Russell Wilson now, he's top 13 in touchdown passes in NFL history. He's third in rushing yards as a quarterback. He's top 20 in pass yards. He had 8 playoff appearances in 10 years with the Seattle Seahawks.
And that's Hall of Fame?
He went to 2 Super Bowls, bro.
And the fact that he didn't win the other one is what disqualified him from, in my opinion, in being
I don't
the
think
Super
it
Bowl.
disqualified
Okay,
him.
so let's go through it. Let's go through the numbers because numbers never lie, right? So when you talk about it, right, Russell Wilson, I think we're watering down the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is supposed to be an exclusive club.
We watering it down?
Yeah, I'm saying it's being watered down.
We don't vote because if they let us vote it.
Okay, Russell Wilson, right? All right, 115 and 72, 334 touchdown passes, 43,653 yards, right? Good career. Now, what if I read these numbers off to you? 102 wins, 82 losses, 242 touchdown passes, 43,627 yards.
That's Joe Flacco.
We putting Joe Flacco in the Hall of Fame?
That's Joe Flacco.
Are we putting Joe and a Super Bowl MVP? And you can say the same resume as far as
Are you putting Joe Flacco in the
Hall? No,
Okay.
that's my point. So if Joe Flacco,
But Joe Flacco is Russell Wilson, though.
what are you talking about? I just gave you basically mirrored stats. And we don't even mention Joe Flacco, and we're going to put Russell Wilson in there, and Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl MVP and still counting.
I understand.
Dude just came off his couch and rescued the organization.
But I think Russell Wilson, in my opinion.
Because of PR?
No, I'm just saying. But
higher profile?
I think Russell Wilson did it more consistently than Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco went to the play. Him and Matt Ryan was always a staple. He went to the playoffs so he went to the playoffs the first 8 years the same way. And he has more road victories than any quarterback in NFL history. And we don't talk about Joe Flacco like that. So how are we going to say somebody with the same numbers and the same resume belongs to get it in the Hall of Fame, but somebody else with the same numbers we don't even mention? We don't even think about that. We don't
How many
think
Super Bowls Joe Flacco been to?
It don't matter. He won the same amount, and he was the MVP.
I mean, I understand.
He's been to we
talk about Russell Wilson been to more Super Bowls than Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. What are you talking about?
But that's 2.
Yeah.
Okay, he been to 2. Boy, you act like getting to the Super Bowl is easy as hell.
Make it make sense.
Kimberly, you
right? Is that the same resume as Joe Flacco, Hall of Famer?
No, Joe Flacco's not Hall of Fame.
So you bought the beer at 11 o'clock, right? You definitely bought. No, you know what I'm saying.
What are you talking about?
Oh, that's urban economics.
I would take Russell Wilson in the Hall of Fame before I take Joe Flacco.
That's off Minister Society. That doesn't mean that I caught him lying. So he bought the beer at 12 o'clock.
No, you
can't. Can you bring
I'm not even
sanity
sure.
to these proceedings?
No, he was borderline even Hall of Fame before in Seattle. I think what hurts Russell is the fact that Seattle literally said, "We don't want you anymore. We are better off with Geno Smith."
They were protecting him.
And Seattle seems to be doing just fine. As far from the standpoint of we have a playoff caliber team with a combination of Geno and Drew Lock. Coming to Denver, this whole thing has been a disaster. And when you read off the stats from this year, I think this season when people were critical of Russ's numbers, it was like, oh, you hating on Russ, da-da-da-da-da. It's not about hate. The numbers are good. The problem is this contract and what was given up for him.
Expectations.
These numbers cannot just be fine or good. They got to be great. When you tell me he's top 20 in something, he can't be top 20. He's like, they gave up way too much, and I think that's why Sean Payton, we saw it throughout the season, the way he was talking to him on the sideline. Sean Payton.
You know
how many people play in the National Football League all time?
You know what really, just because I know this conversation about Russell Wilson in the Hall of Fame, what really hurt him, he gets traded to Denver, and Geno has a better year.
All that, yes.
Like he literally had a better year than what Russell Wilson had the year prior in the same system.